Chapter 20. The Ballsling. The far wall of the glade exploded in a shower of broken branches and fetterlings. More butterflies took to the air as the largest fetterling I could ever imagine tried to squeeze through a gap like a T-Rex. Even though a whole field, a hill, a stream, 30-odd yards, and a group of trees separated us, the boss fetterling, bossling? Yeah, that sounds right, looked huge. It surveyed the glade, then let out a high-pitched roar that made my teeth hurt. Smaller fetterlings poured in through the breach around it, leaping over the broken branches and thundering across the field. John! Tristan! Miss Sarah and Miss Rose soared over the glade, their brilliant black wings spread wide. Sarah! Rose! John Henry sounded relieved. We need to clear the hill. Without a moment to lose, the ladies tucked their wings close and knifed towards the ground. At the last second, they unfurled them and unleashed powerful flaps, slicing wind gusts towards the intruders, lifting them up and sending them tumbling backwards until they slammed against the rear wall and disintegrated. But more fetterlings clawed at the hole that trapped the bossling, trying to help it get through. Meanwhile, their leader slammed from side to side, squeezing even further into the thicket. Just when it seemed it would pop free, thorny vines shot out the ground and entangled it further. Take that, you blundering cretin! Someone shouted from behind me. Brer leapt out of the tunnel's entrance and landed next to me, finally appearing in the flesh and not as some magical face in the dirt. His fur was matted and twitching, as if his muscles were spasming, and the giant rabbit was gritting his teeth with effort. I heard a strange song in my head, like something was out of harmony, or an instrument was out of tune, and he glared at me as more vines shot out to wrangle the iron monsters. Still here? Ayana and the others are leaving for the Golden Crescent and the story box. They need you. Have you two been chit-chatting the whole time? I punched his fetterling before I turned to Brer, but John Henry interrupted. He's right, Tristan. Their mission is fixing to fail if you ain't with them. Us gods are tied up here. Literally. Two fetterlings were trying to clamp themselves around the barrel-sized wrists. John Henry flung them into the air, then batted them into a million pieces. Go! Brer shouted to me, just as the bossling forced its way in. Please, Tristan, said Miss Rose called as Miss Sarah hurtled from the sky, a fetterling in each hand, and dashed them to pieces on the ground. Do this for us. Despite the chaos from the raging battle, now that the other gods of mid-pass were here, it seemed like they could hold their own. Brer struggled with the effort, continued to tangle the fetterlings in vines and thorns. John Henry smashed his hammer down left and right, and Miss Sarah and Miss Rose launched devastating strikes over and over from high above. They didn't need my help, but the others did. I threw my hands up in frustration. Okay! A fetterling slipped past Brer, and I nailed it with an uppercut that blew its head off. Fine! About time, Brer snarled, his left ear pointed at the door. Now get! They're in the kitchen, stocking up. But you need to hurry. Follow the tunnel to the right, always to the right, and you'll find them. The bossling finally emerged. It thundered across the field, stomping through the stream, and John Henry raced towards it, hammer in hand. The winged goddesses spiraled above, preparing for another sweeping attack. And Brer kicked high into the air, trying to close off the hole the monsters had made in the thicket wall. Go! I turned and ran. I sprinted through the thicket tunnel, turning right whenever I could, and the floor began to slope upward. Gradually, the passageway began to widen until it ended in a circular room with a large hole in the ceiling. Ayana and Chestnut stood hunched over a familiar raft, which they loaded with bundles of supplies. They both looked up in surprise when I skidded to a stop next to them. Chestnut grinned, but when she looked at Ayana and saw the anger simmering on her face, the rabbit's smile quickly faded. "I thought you didn't want to help," Ayana finally said. I clenched my fists, then forced them to relax. I deserved that. Rather than arguing, I picked up the last 3 bundles of supplies and tucked them on the raft, securing them with straps. Once that was done, I made to get on, but Ayana stepped in my way. "Oh, no, you don't. You don't get to insert yourself after saying no." Frustration built up in my chest. "The gods told me I had to. And that's the only reason you're here?" "Yes." "No, wait." I gripped my skull. If I'd had longer hair, I'd have pulled it out. "I have to do this, I think." "You think?" Ayana folded her arms and Chestnut hopped anxiously from foot to foot. "Whatever. Come on, Chestnut, let's go." "Hold on." I reached out but didn't grab her arm. The look in her eyes when she turned around told me that had been a smart decision. "What?" It's true, I don't want to go." "Well, no, wait. I don't want to go because I'm afraid." There, I said it out loud so everyone could hear it, including me. Shoot. Sorry, guys. I dropped the book. Oh, no. Okay, wait. Okay, there it is. Okay. All right. I needed to admit that to myself. "What, and we aren't?" Ayana asked. She stepped forward, getting in my face, and pointed back to the tunnel. "You don't think I'm afraid of those things? Not just of them, of failing, of letting another person down." Speaking the words felt like ripping off a bandage or getting my chest waxed. I assumed I saw a video of that online once. It looked really painful. Ayana's eyes softened. "Why? 'Cause of Fox? Tristan, that wasn't your fault. He made that choice. He sacrificed himself for us to escape. You didn't do anything." "You didn't do anything." She thought I meant Brer Fox, but in my mind, it was Eddie's hand I saw reaching out for me. I didn't correct her, though. Her words applied just the same. "You didn't do anything." I took a deep breath. I'm trying to believe it wasn't my fault, so I think I need to do this. I want to help if you'll have me." She studied me, then looked at Chestnut, who twitched an ear. Finally, Ayana turned back and nodded. "Come on. I guess you might be useful. Besides, I'm pretty sure Miss Sarah and Miss Rose would have my hide if I refused you." I forced a smile and stepped onto the raft. Chestnut hopped on beside me. Ayana murmured a phrase, and the raft began to hum. Cymbals flared briefly in the wood, and then we rose into the air. The raft climbed higher and higher, aiming for the circular hole in the ceiling, until we shot out of the dark in the thicket and into the red-orange glow of the afternoon sun. Mid-pass stretched out below us. It felt weird leaving the others behind, but they were fighting so we could attempt the heist. Their battle was distracting the iron monsters. The drowned forest lurked like a silent cemetery, and when we rotated the raft to face the curtains of mist and flame beyond, my heart skipped a beat. The burning sea. "Hold on tight," Ayana said, and we shot forward, on our way to steal from a god.